Cooperative play probably isn't the first thing that comes to mind when reflecting on Castlevania, a series that built an identity around solitary adventures through a single massive castle. Some ardent fans may even consider the major integration of such a feature sacrilegious, something that breaks Castlevania's fundamental appeal. But like it or not, cooperative play that supports up to 6 players is the crux of Castlevania Harmony of Despair. And while there's not a whole lot of evidence suggesting that such a formula should work or provide any semblance of entertainment beyond that of staring at a train wreck, Harmony of Despair shockingly delivers a fun, new, interesting approach to a franchise that has largely followed the same rubric for years.
Lightning!
That's not to say that much of the game won't feel immediately familiar to those who have played the last few Nintendo DS games or the PlayStation classic Symphony of the Night. In fact, much of Harmony of Despair, from the characters to the maps, is a Frankenstein monster of sorts, selecting various visual and gameplay elements from those games and melding them into a cohesive experience. Accordingly, you have the option to select from 5 characters from previous Castlevania outings.
Shall we?
Soma Cruz, Alucard, Jonathan Morris, Shanoa, and Charlotte Olan. These characters have skills and abilities unique to the game they appeared in. What's great about these characters is that they all have distinct strengths and weaknesses that balance out when you're playing cooperatively. Alucard may have strong melee attacks, but since his magic attacks are relatively weak, he's not that effective at a distance. But when he's partnered up with characters who are more proficient with magic, the combination is devastating. Still, don't expect to just waltz through Harmony of Despair's 6 levels, even when playing cooperatively. The game is hard, and it knows it's hard. Therefore, death is an intentionally common occurrence, but it's not an entirely frustrating one thanks to the surprisingly addictive way Harmony of Despair handles character growth. To put it simply, it's all about grinding, but you're not doing it in the traditional sense of defeating enemies and earning experience points to level up your character. Characters do have individual stats, but these can be changed only by purchasing weapons, items, or armor from the store or finding them in treasure chests scattered throughout a level. Since the money you earn in a level carries over even after death, you can grind money and then use it to purchase stronger items to help get you through a level. This might all seem like a supremely tedious experience, but there are a few things that work in Harmony of Despair to counterbalance it. The first is that the grinding has an immediate payoff, at least in terms of money. Purchasing new armor or weapons is a quick way to beef up your character enough to take on the boss of a level. The second is the way the levels are structured. Since these aren't the same huge castles from previous Castlevania games, it's a bit easier to entertain the idea of playing through an entire level over again. Plus, it's also worth mentioning that you can easily plot an initial course to the boss by viewing the entire map, and once you've found an easy route, it takes very little time to go from the start to the end. Time is another strong component of Harmony of Despair and another affront to the Castlevania games of the last few years. You have 30 minutes to complete each level. Those precious minutes go down even faster if one of your teammates happens to die and then continues to die when in skeleton form. Teammates can revive fallen comrades by using the Water of Life, but sometimes that's easier said than done when players are scattered across the map. Moreover, pausing the game doesn't stop the clock, nor does the equip screen that you can access through the special books placed at various points in a level. There are some areas where Harmony of Despair falters. Some of the visual elements used in this game are well over 10 years old, and the attempt to shoehorn the visual style of numerous Castlevania games into one package only enhances its Frankenstein monster-like nature, particularly when it comes to the level of detail or lack thereof in the characters. The environments look fine, but absolutely nothing was built from the ground up for the Xbox 360, so everything generally has a gritty, pixelated look that can make things difficult to see unless you're sitting close to the TV. The music is equally passable guitar-heavy stuff, with some remixed Castlevania tunes included, but there's nothing that really stands out. Controls feel a bit too loose at times, with jumps, attacks, or spells not coming out when you want them to, or having a character execute a special melee attack when you merely wanted to use a regular one. You do become more acclimated to them, but these controls aren't as razor-sharp as those found in the older games. Even with those complaints, Despair's most egregious failure is how it presents information related to how to play the game properly and what different things mean in the game. There is an in-game manual that gives basic information, but neither that nor the character equip menus go into enough detail to explain how certain things work, or it's simply not clear enough. How do I do this? Can this character do that? Is that spell leveling up? These are questions you'll be asking yourself often. Of course, if you've played the last few Castlevania games, you should have no problem, but if you've been out of the loop since Symphony of the Night, you'll find yourself tinkering with characters in an attempt to learn on your own. There are many smaller things that seem frustrating initially, but make more sense the more you play the game. For example, not having access to your health items at all times may seem incredibly annoying, but if you were to able to use them at any time without equipping them, Harmony of Despair would be a much easier game. Along those same lines, other multiplayer grinding tropes such as sharing items, weapons, and armor would also make the game far easier because stronger players could simply give their best equipment to a teammate. Part of this game's charm is building up your character and handily beating the boss, only to move to the next level to be thoroughly beaten down by that boss, and repeating the process over again. Of course, there are some instances when Harmony of Despair caters more to the multiplayer cooperative experience than the single player, but in reality that's the best way to experience this new Castlevania, and it's the optimal way to experience what may be a new and fun potential direction for the series to take.